Hello there. How are you, my lovelies? Well, on my group, I have to say it looks as though you've been having great fun with the envelopes, because you've come up with all sorts of different combinations, which is brilliant. Love it. You've come out with some really, really lovely stuff. I feel like a proud mama. Anyway, so today we're doing this page. So we've got the centre of our signature there, and we're onto this double page spread here. Now, I've done them on the 2 pages. You can just do them on the one if you want. Don't have to do them at all if you don't want. So I've used some picture frames here, and then there's a little card inside that has got the photograph on that just slides in there. Okay, so as you can see from the images that I've used, these were from the magazine What Every Woman Should Know, excuse me, which I'll show you in a bit anyway. But they've got loads of these little tiny images in, which were just perfect for my apertures. Oh, I know all the big posh words you say. Apertures. I haven't got a clue what it means. No, I do. Joking. So that's the aperture, the bit that they cut out, and that's just to prove to you that I do know. Oh, can you hear that noise? That noise out there. That's me dustbin men. Come to empty the dustbins. Okay, let me try and talk over the top of the dustbin men, so hopefully you can hear me. Oh, he's driving off now. Okay. Now, you might not like me very much because I have given you loads of options, both yesterday and the day before with the envelopes, and I'm going to give you a heap of options today. Now, the reason why I'm giving you loads of options is to help you to cover stash that you've got. Rather than going out and buying something new. So you might suddenly see something and go, I've got that, I could use that. So that's why I'm giving you loads of different options. Plus the fact I like to make your brains think a little, to think outside the box sometimes. So as you saw with the ones that I used, I had got an old book, those old Victorian photo frames books, and they come with loads of these things in them, and individual ones as well. Now these were obviously, let me move that out the way, and you see, isn't that pretty? They've got loads of them, so yeah. But these are obviously too big to go in my journal. Maybe I need to make a journal just with another thought, Carol. But I had those 2 little ones, which was great, so I was able to use them. Don't have any more there. So the options are, you know, sorry, get me booby in the picture. Photo mounts or picture mounts. So you know when you go and get your embroideries framed and you have a picture photograph, and they put a mount board over the top. Quite a few shops that do picture framing sell off all these little mounts. One problem with the mounts is that obviously they're quite heavy, so you will need to consider whether you want to whether you want to use this and then attach it to a piece of card rather than a piece of paper for your page. All right, because it'll need the weight to support the weight of this. Of course, then you can decorate this to your heart's content. Other options include the following. CD case, paper cases that you put your CDs in. So you could just chop that top bit off. So basically using an envelope again. Oh, I do love an envelope. After a pocket, I love an envelope. So you could use a CD case, and the nice thing is it's already got the plastic film in as well, which will help to protect the image that you're going to put inside. It's a big circle though, so you may want to just think about that. The other thing that you would probably need to do as well is with this, it's open, and you can draw around that space because it's open. Because this is closed, you will probably need to take one apart, so then you can draw around the aperture that you've got there. And I'll come to the reason why you need to draw around the aperture in a bit. Then you've got greetings cards, both fancy and plain. So you might have a pack of cards that has already got the aperture cut out of it. So then you could trim off that bit, and you could trim off that bit, and you've got your little photo frame there. Or you could have a fancy one and do exactly the same thing. Cut off that bit, and then you've already got your aperture. Not only have you got your aperture, but you've actually got a heart shape, which is quite pretty. For me, I wouldn't want the roof on, so you can cut it down. So that's all right. Then, of course, you've got your dies. So if you've got a variety of dies and you've got a die cutting machine, then there's no reason why you couldn't then cut your own aperture. But you need to make sure that you use a firm enough piece of card, probably about a 220 up to a 300 GSM card. So that's that one. And don't forget as well, keep the bits that you cut out, because they'll come in handy later. So that's that one. On this one I did the oval, a frilly oval, scalloped oval, and this one I did the circle, a scalloped circle, and then this one I just used my punch. The only problem with the punch is, as you can see from here, you can only go so far down when you insert it in. So if I insert that in there, look, that's as far down the card as it will go. So if you wanted this a little bit lower down, you can't. So if you punch your circle, heart, or whatever shape you've got, and then maybe trim it down, and then that would just be about right. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out to you was that if you have a look on this one, it's offset from the centre, all right, as in height wise. So there's a bigger gap at the bottom and a smaller gap at the top, and that's because it then allows you to either write on here or to add a banner. So then you could put maybe the name of the person on the banner, but again, I'm going to come to that in a bit. All right, so there's lots of different options of way in which you can create your own. Now, when it comes to the magazine, what I've done here is I've just used some of the text, because there's quite a few sheets of this text. And so what I've done is I got a greetings card, but you can use a file folder as well, or any sort of firmish card. This is probably about a 160 to 220 GSM. And I stuck the paper onto the card, as you can see. And then I did my scallop on using the dies and offset it slightly from the centre, so there's a larger gap here than there is at the top. I then went and inked all the edges and did a little tiny thumb hole as well. Now, the reason why I've put the thumb hole on this one is that, if I just show you on this one, oh sorry, knocking the camera. So on this one I put a tab on the top. If you haven't got a tab punch, or you can use circles as well, it doesn't have to be a proper tab, but if you haven't got any of those things, if you put a thumb hole in there, then at least you can get in to pull your image out. Now, this is just an open space, and I said that I was going to show you why we have the aperture. And I forgot my pencil again. That's me reaching over everything for my pencil. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to need a piece of card to insert underneath this once I've glued it to the page. But I need to know where my picture needs to sit. And so if I do, just very roughly, it doesn't have to be perfect. If I just draw around the aperture, I can see now where my picture needs to sit. So I know that it needs to be bigger than the aperture. And I've got an idea of where the position is going to be. So that's why I said about the CD case is that you would need to probably take one apart so that you could draw around that space. Okay. What was the next thing I was going to say? Yes, so we would then need to stick a piece of something clear on the back. So if you use something like acetate, and I know, oh, you can see it because it's shiny. If you use something like acetate, it gives it a window. And I would use a double-sided tape to stick this on. I'm not a massive fan of double-sided tape. I don't use it very often. But it's hard to find a liquid-type glue, oops, that is strong enough to hold this in place. I could have said in situ then, couldn't I? But I didn't. Put that to one side. And I'm going to stick that on the back. So rather than sticking the glue to this, or the tape to this. Hello tape, I haven't seen you in such a long time. How are you? You're so well, I can't find the end. Oh, there we go. No, that's, yeah, no, well, that's a dimple in the tape. Oh, there, yes, there we go. And I actually only need it. Oh, look, my hair gets everywhere. Thank you for joining us, but we don't need you. You could stick it on the acetate if you want, because at least then you know what size you're going to need. Because at the moment I'm just sticking it on a little bit willy-nilly. And yes, that is a technical terminology. Oh, look. Oh, how skewiff is that? Oh dear. Oh, that one's going to be skewiff as well. And I'm going to stick it around the three sides because I don't need it across the bottom. I've lost my acetate. Where's it gone? It's there. Burnish it down. I'm being lazy, can you tell? Look. Didn't go and get my bone folder. Just use my scissors. You actually won't come off now. Oh, it did. Miracle upon miracles. And so I'm going to sit. Oh, look, you see, I've cut that too small now. I'm going to have sticky tape. This is why you stick the tape to the acetate. See, even I make mistakes, girls. Oh, I'm going to have to put a bit of paper over that to cover that bit over. But as I say, don't need any across this bottom bit because nothing's going to catch on that. So, I've now got that as a protection now for my photographs. The next thing you need to think about is the card that you're going to insert inside, because we need to stick this to the page. And we're obviously going to run glue around three sides, which means that by the time the glue is spread, we've taken up about 1/4 inch on that side and that side. So this piece of card, even though I've drawn around the aperture in the first place, needs to be trimmed down because at the moment it's exactly the same size. And by the time that this is glued to the page, it needs to be narrower. So I'm just going to do it by hand because I can't be bothered to pick up my paper trimmer which is right beside me, because I'm feeling very, very lazy this morning. So we know then that when we insert this, can you see, look, the glue will have extended beyond the edge, and so that might fit. You might need to trim it down more. The other thing is that you're not going to need the full depth, the same as the card itself. So you can actually trim some off the bottom there as well, because this is the important bit. So then when you insert that, can you see how that bit, oh no, you won't be able to because it's brown on brown. Can you see how with the thumb hole at the top, you've now got somewhere where you can actually pull that out, so that if you want to change the picture or whatever, then you can do, or pull it out to show someone closer. But it's narrower than the width of the card, and it's not quite as long as the card down here, but we need to make sure that we've got plenty of glue on there, because we don't want it slipping too far down when we insert that. All right. Now, the other thing to think about is that if you're going to attach this to coffee dyed paper and you're having difficulty inserting this piece of card with your photograph on, this sharp point might rip through the paper on the back. Two choices. One is to round the corners off, so then there's no sharp points to dig through your paper. It could still catch a little and still rip through the paper. The other option is to cut a piece of card or paper the same size as this, and glue it around. Oh, see, it's stuck to that tape. I need to put some paper on that now to cover it over, but stick it round three sides, so you're forming a pocket. Love a pocket. Can I just tell you why I keep doing that? That there's a video that I did with my grandchildren, my granddaughters, when they came to stay, because they made themselves a junk journal, and they were talking about, I videoed them talking about their journals that they made, and one of them, cheeky little beggar she is, I love her to bits, she kept going, love a pocket, because of course every page we turned over, and here's a pocket, another pocket, we love a pocket. It's become a thing. So now we formed our pocket, we can place glue over the whole of that and stick it to the page. It also means then that when we come to insert this card into there, it will go in, there we go, it's not going to rip through the paper that that's the page of the signature, all right, because you've got this protecting it from this. All right, so that's that one. The digital kit, have a look through, see which paper you like. I'm just demonstrating on this one because my computer's not very happy with me this morning, and I found this bit of leftover paper which I originally used, look, for the corner fold. Anyway, it does the trick. So here I haven't actually punched or die cut the aperture in the centre. I've actually offset it, all right, which makes an interesting little feature. So you could produce this in exactly the same way as you've produced this, but have a look about where you want your aperture to go, all right? What you would then do, So you need to stick your acetate on the back. But when you actually come to stick it to the page, whether it be a background piece or whether it be to the page itself, you need to place glue quite a way in. And you need to cover all of this area on the back and all of this area on the back, and then a thin line up there, so that when you insert this, it only has access in that area, because otherwise you'll have a big bit of card which then has quite a long way to disappear all the way down, and you don't want it to do that. So you would need a narrow piece of card again, but all of this is then stuck to the page, so then this has only got access to that area. Does all that make sense? I hope it does. So, as I say, you would need to have a look at your digital papers to decide which one you're going to use and where the aperture would go. Sometimes some of these pages can be too busy and it will then detract from the image. Just show you with this on. So, if you imagine that in there, it doesn't have to be a lady. It can be a cutting from a magazine. Seeing if I've got one to hand, because I was actually playing about with some of those last night. Just put that one under. So if you've got an image from your garden, it's not the right one, but it gives you an idea. So you don't want anything too busy, because if that's really busy, it'll detract from that. Of course, your other option, which I haven't mentioned yet as well, is using your paper napkins. So that if you've got something plain, say like a greetings card, will be quite difficult to decorate that up, but if you use napkins to decorate this part up maybe, or have something trailing around here, that would look quite pretty too. Right, just very quickly, because I'm nearly out of time. So here on this one, you could stick a little banner piece down there, and what I would do with that is I would actually ink up all the sides, poke a hole a little way in from the edge, try and line it up and do one at the other side, put brads in there. If I get cut off, I will show you on the next one what I did. So I would put, and I've got these nice blue sparkly brads. Might run out of time if this brad don't play along. There we go. And twiddle it round so that the prongs aren't showing at the front. The blue one, Carol. There we go. And it just gives it a slightly more finished look if you use the brads. And then once you've stuck your word on there, I would then glue that to that. I'm going to leave it there. Have fun playing again. Let your creativity juices flow. See you tomorrow. Bye.